Alright, music fans, welcome back. It is Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there, and me right here. I've seen a lot of these top 5 lists, top 10 lists here on YouTube and other places where people more or less put forth a list of the 3 reasons so-and-so decided to do X. And I find these pretty interesting. Recently I stumbled on the top 5 reasons why Steve Perry did something. I can't remember what it was, but it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting video. So I'm going to do the top 5 reasons why I believe Steve Perry walked away from Journey. Now, of course, you know that Perry was at one point told to take a hike, and then the divorce proceedings began. That was in 1997-98 when Steve's hip needed to be replaced, and he was doing a little hemming and hawing there, and he just didn't want to go through with it. He eventually got the surgery, but the boys eventually hired Steve Augeri to take his place. But these are the top 5 reasons I believe Steve Perry left Journey and has kind of stayed away. I know there's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Walk of Fame and, you know, other appearances he's made throughout the years. 91, someone sent me the link, and I already had seen that they did a little reunion at the Bill Graham concert, and nobody looked all that enthused to be there. I think they carried on as well as they could under the circumstances. So the number 1 reason, I guess we'll go from 5 to 1. Number 5, Steve Perry hates the grind and he loves his current life. I can't see why he'd want to subject himself, his voice, his body, anything to a rigorous schedule. As far as releasing music, I know a lot of people think that's just easy, but typically that requires some level of promotion. If you're going to get a major label involved, they're going to want you to get out there and do some promotion and probably do some concerts. I think he feels that fame isn't really that important anymore, and I think this dates back 30 years, if not more. Number 4, personal inner turmoil. Steve Perry's had a lot of circumstances in his life. You can go back to Alien Project, where his bandmate died in a car crash, and at that point he thought, oh, that's it. And eventually, you know, he's working at chicken coops or whatever, and then eventually got the call from Herbie. But his life has had people who he's been close to. Those people have moved on from planet Earth, and some have just decided to leave Steve behind. So he's had a lot of personal inner turmoil, and he's battling demons all the time, it just seems, even from interviews from 3 or 4 years ago. Number 3, this is one I don't think a lot of people will have. Steve Perry is misunderstood. He's a serious person. He's willing to wait for good things to happen. And he's sort of against the whole idea that it has to happen now. He'd rather put the brakes on something than do it hastily. Number 2, he's a strong male alpha personality, and his ideas and opinions often clash with others. We saw that when he got rid of Steve Smith and Ross Valory and replaced them for the Raised on Radio tour and album. That was just a crazy move. A lot of people think it was, you know, not the best move. Steve has said in interviews that he wished he had a do-over there. But Steve wants things his way. He's a writer, producer, arranger. He's the whole ball of wax. And if you've got another idea, you better make sure it can pass muster with Steve in the room. Number 1, this is the top reason I believe that Steve Perry is no longer involved in music and his band Journey. He was mistreated by his former bandmates. That's the number 1 reason. And the mistreatment really stems from what happened in '98, but maybe the part about being misunderstood dates back to like 88, 87, when people were kind of waiting for Steve to come back. That's the crux of everything, I believe. I mean, these other things are almost equally important, but I believe when that phone call was made to Perry to tell him that they were looking for a singer, I think that was it. I think that was a done deal, and Steve hasn't been seen since. It's been 20 years. Of course, he's been seen out in public, and he often, makes these appearances where he stokes interest in his music and his former band's music, but Steve has really decided to kind of lay low. And I think he's going to continue to lay low. I'm sorry to tell everybody. That new album that everybody's thinking about, no sign of that album yet, and it doesn't look as though there will be a new album unless Steve's estate decides to release it someday. That's what I think. Of course, Steve is rather unpredictable too, so you never know. We'll just keep those options open and keep some hope alive. That's my video, the top 5 reasons why I believe Steve Perry left Journey and has stayed away. Talk to you soon. See ya.